before us say, no more, no more. That means protest, that means march, that means disturb the peace, that means jail, that means risk, and that is hard.
Selma, from director Ava DuVernay, dramatizes the civil rights movement of the 1960s through one of its pivotal events, the Selma, Alabama march that helped lead to the passage of the Voting Rights Act.
We will not wait any longer. Give us the vote.
Hi, I'm Tim Gray. We're in the Variety newsroom with Selma costume designer Ruth Carter. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
When you're doing a film, I think it's set in 1965.
Yes, it is.
What was the biggest help doing research?
Definitely documentary footage, because the essence of what Selma is about a march that actually happened in real life. We had to go deeper into the documentary footage and really examine what it was we wanted to show that was going to be unique to our film. They put on clothes that were comfortable, so you really got to see closely, how people prepared for the march. It was a lot of the everyday. A lot of that footage is in black and white, so you also had to reinterpret it and say, what would it look like in color? There were colors that were very specific to the 60s and colors that were the brights of the 60s, like orange was more prevalent than red.
A lot of costume designers say that they start with the psychology of the character.
Yes.
But when you're designing for real people,
yes,
is that the same approach, or is it different?
The psychology of the individual comes out in so many ways that you wouldn't imagine. When we were looking at Coretta, for example, we found pictures of her laughing, open mouth wide, and we're like, wow, she really had a great sense, because she cared about the civil rights movement as well, but you didn't hear or see a lot of it. So with the pictures that you gather of any, especially King, you knew that he had a sense of humor. I feel like that's the psychology of what you're trying to communicate. You have to sort of decide what would that person select for themselves. It's not always what's best for the composition of this particular scene.
Not necessarily as a costume designer, but as a human being.
Yes.
What was it like to be there, where it happened, and talk to people like Andrew Young?
Yes. At times I was a costume designer, and at times I was an overwhelmed, overly joyous viewer. We had all kinds of people that really felt very close to the story, had relatives that really marched and told them about their experience with the march. I remember dressing one young man behind John Lewis in what we call Bloody Sunday March, and a woman who was a background person from Selma whose parents marched in the Selma to Montgomery March and Bloody Sunday. She recognized how the guy was dressed, and she said she identified him by name. What I find fun is being able to look at a crowd scene and actually duplicate it. So I go out on set with, my research, and I usually pick a really good picture of a scene, and I stand there and I look at the group and I look at the research and I move people around. I'd go through the crowd and I'd talk to them and I'd say, you're wearing these coats as protection because on the other side of the bridge that there are billy clubs and there's violence that's going to happen, and so these were part of their armor and their arsenal.